All right, Bills Mafia, here is your week 2 preview prediction for the Bills traveling to the Jets to play them in week 2. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern noon kickoff game in Central Time in Dallas. And so let's get right into it and kind of go over what we got, what we think is going to happen, and give a final prediction on the game. So let's get into the injury report first. As always, we all heard this week, Big Ed Oliver, with his monstrous game last week, will not be able to play in this game. He's dealing with some kind of ankle injury right now. The Bills aren't saying a whole lot about it. A couple reports saying he might only miss a week. That's what the Bills are saying. Adam Schefter seems to be saying that he's going to be out for multiple weeks. Never good to see a guy in a boot, especially running around on a scooter. So apparently he got stepped on Wednesday in practice, and hence we don't have him this week, which is terrible because we know that the Bills really needed him to shore up their defensive line. He's probably their best defensive player, him and Rousseau, but he's by far the best defensive tackle we have. So he is out for the game. That's huge news, which is terrible, like I said, for our run defense. The next ones are Jordan Hancock is questionable, Teron Johnson is questionable, Shaq Thompson is questionable, Tre'Davious White is questionable. Jordan Hancock, I really want to see him get on the field, especially if the safeties continue to struggle. So he was a healthy scratch last week, probably going to be a healthy scratch this week, so he could go. But the Bills seem confident in Cam Lewis, Taylor Rapp, and Cole Bishop with DeMar Hamlin. He's going to be available, and then Teron Johnson. We really can't afford to lose him. He's our all-world slot cornerback, probably one of the top 3 slot cornerbacks in the league. So really hate to see him with the questionable designation, especially with a quad injury. He's physical, he's big, he's a great tackler. Need him to kind of help out and cover those backs coming out of the backfield. So not good. Shaq Thompson, he's a backup. I didn't see him a whole lot on the field last week against the Ravens. I believe he played a little bit on special teams, but I don't remember seeing him on the field. So not a huge loss, but he is a valuable backup if something happens to one of our top 3 guys. And then Tre'Davious White, again, groin injury. I'm okay with him being sitting. I really want them to play the rookies. I like Dorian Strong. I think the more reps he gets, live game action, the better off he's going to be when the games matter come playoff time. And I think if he continues to play up to the level he showed against the Ravens, I wouldn't be surprised if Tre'Davious White becomes a backup. So I know he's played in the system. He knows the Bills. He's a beloved player. I mean, he was the first draft pick of Sean McDermott. However, let's keep going with Dorian Strong. We need to get younger and faster on defense. And as much as Tre'Davious White is good, he's not quick. He's not super fast. So I'd love to see Dorian Strong get it. And then when Harrison comes back, really those 2 guys play the number 2 corner position for the Bills. So I'm in favor of Tre'Davious White sitting another week and resting up and getting fully healthy before he comes back. Because again, regular season wins are nice. I know we're chasing the number 1 seed, but we need to be at full strength, full health for the playoffs. So we'll see how it goes there. Guys that have injury designations that are going to play: Christian Benford with a groin, Dawson Knox with a hip, James Cook with a hamstring, Keon Coleman with a groin, Codrington with a knee, and then Russo with a knee. I believe most of those guys did full practices on Friday, so I have no doubts they're all going to play. We just have to hope they get through and stay healthy for the whole matter of the game, especially Benford as our number 1 corner. Knox, he's kind of regulated that backup role, but I'd love to see our third tight end, Dawes, get in there and do some work and get some more reps. And really show what he can do and really solidify that number 3 and show that he's ready to play some more action. I'm of the aspect the more the rookies play, the better off we are going to be come playoff time. So I'm okay with all that. Obviously, we can't miss Rousseau, but we do have some depth. So this game with the injuries we have, we're playing a lesser team. We're not playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. We're playing the Jets. It sucks because their offensive style is similar to the Ravens, so they're going to give our defense problems. But Justin Fields is a poor man's Lamar Jackson, but he's nowhere near good in the pocket as Lamar is. And then Breece Hall is nowhere in the league of Derrick Henry, but at the same time, Breece Hall has had great games against us. So for the Jets, Really, they've got three guys that are out. Nobody of real importance. They really don't have anybody important being out. Questionable. Carter, one of their cornerbacks, is questionable with a shoulder injury, and then their second pick in this year's draft, the tight end Taylor, he's questionable with an ankle injury. But looks like they're both going to play. They were limited Friday, and then will play. The biggest one is Sauce Gardner's on the injury report with a groin injury. That's always helpful. However, our number one receiver has a groin injury. So again, hopefully, again, don't want injury on anybody. But if Gardner tweaked that groin and had to leave the game early, that wouldn't hurt the Bills' chances to win. So the other thing is we'll bring up the referees in this one. I've seen a little noise about it. So we're getting a gentleman by the name of Cleet Blackman's crew to do this game. This is the same crew that refereed the AFC Championship game, and we know how many calls went against the Bills that were questionable in that game. And then the other thing, too, is they like to throw the flag. Last year, they threw the flag more than anybody else in the league. They averaged almost throwing 16 flags a game. So the flags that we didn't see last week in the Baltimore-Buffalo game may drastically change this week in the Bills-Jets game. And let's be real, the Bills and Jets for the past couple of seasons really don't like each other, so these games get kind of feisty. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if the game starts to get out of hand or something. I see a couple extra flags get thrown in the air for unsportsmanlike conduct. So the last 3 games we played at the Jets Stadium, we've lost 2 of 3, which is surprising because the Jets were terrible teams during those years. I mean, they really weren't that great. But hey, they do play us tough at their home stadium, and I think this Jets team is definitely better offensively than last year's Jets team. Defensively, have questions. Jermaine Johnson's still coming back from his Achilles tear. Will McDonald seems like he's turning into a pro. And then, of course, Quentin Williams, that all-world defensive tackle they have in the middle, always gives us problems against us. So we'll really see what they have and going there. So, okay, so let's get into the offenses, go through the players. So quarterback, obviously, I think Josh Allen is clearly heads and tails. I mean, this isn't even a conversation to have about who has the better quarterback in this game. It's Josh Allen. In fact, there's not a game I think we play this year other than when we play Lamar, Joe, and Patrick Mahomes. Is there even a question about who has the better quarterback? Even all due respect to Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen is clearly heads and tails above Justin Fields. However, Justin Fields is a quarterback in this style of offense he runs. Gave us problems last week, and I predict will give us problems this week as well if the game script goes how the Jets want it to go. So quarterbacks, hey, Josh Allen, heads and tails, 2 check marks there. So moving into the running backs, I honestly think the Bills have the better 3-headed monster, but I might give Breece Hall a slight edge over James Cook as far as explosiveness and actual playmaking ability. The reason I say that is Breece Hall has all the eyeball tests to be an elite number 1 running back in the NFL. He just has yet to produce where Cook plays in a much better offense. I'd be very curious if you were to switch those 2 running backs, how much different we would talk about Breece Hall aside from the injuries as opposed to James Cook. So yeah, and then the backups, you got Allen and then Davis, the rookie that they drafted, and then for us, you got Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson obviously is regarded as one of the best 3rd down backs in the NFL, and then Ray Davis, I believe, is a starter in the waiting, so he's just got to get touches, he's just got to get carries. He's more of a guy that I think the more touches you get him, the better off he gets. Where Cook is explosive every time he touches the ball. Like last week against the Ravens, he was struggling. He wasn't doing eye popping things. Then boom, he catches that low pass out the backfield and takes it 51 yards for the score. So okay, moving on. So again, I give a check to the Bills, but I think it's a little bit closer than us Bills fans want to admit as far as the running back rooms go. Wide receivers, I'm going to go overall to the Bills because, again, Coleman, Palmer, Shakir, Samuels was a healthy and active last week, but Shavers, Moore, I really like our wide receiver room overall. Better than the Jets, but I won't lie, Garrett Wilson is an absolute stud on that team. I think he just hasn't had great quarterback play, hasn't been on great offenses. I think if he was on a different team with a better quarterback, he'd be getting a lot more flowers than he does. So I'll give a check to the Bills for the wide receiver room. However, I do think the Jets have the best wide receiver on the field in Garrett Wilson up until this point. Keon Coleman, if he continues to do what he does and becomes that guy that everybody was talking about and what he showed a little bit in the Ravens game, that conversation could definitely change. However, let's be real, Coleman didn't have explosive plays until the fourth quarter when the Ravens kind of backed off a little bit. So I'd like to see Coleman dominate start to finish on a game versus, hey, I made a couple great plays at the end of the game, and that kind of elevated my stats a little bit. So let's see Coleman produce the entire game and get from there. And I'd love to see him go in motion, run around. I'd love to see him break away from Sauce Gardner. I think if Sauce Gardner locks up with him one-on-one, it's going to be a battle. I don't know if I trust Coleman over Gardner yet. So, all right. So wide receiver room, check box to the Bills, but I think the best wide receiver on the field is Garrett Wilson at this current time. Tight ends, going to give it to the Bills. Kincaid had a great game last week. Dawson Knox did his Dawson Knox things, and then Jackson Hawes, absolute stud right there with that big 29-yard catch. We know he's a fantastic blocker. That's why we drafted him. But if he starts to show, pass catching chops, then Dawson Knox could be getting some deals, and it could open up our offense and kind of get us into 3 tight end sets and make us less predictable, and not have to bring that 6 lineman in on the big backfield sets because Jackson Hawes is really moving the deal and doing what he needs to do on that aspect. So, and then over on the Jets side, Taylor got the ankle injury. Don't really know their other tight ends over there, but nothing to talk about. So I'm going to give 2 checks to the Bills over that. I think they clearly have the better deal on tight ends. Offensive line, I think the Bills have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Last week we showed it. I think the sacks, I think Josh Allen dropped back 46 times last week, had 1 sack. And Josh Allen does Josh Allen things. He moves. Again, I think the game has slowed down for him this year. I think you're really starting to see him improve, which helps the offensive line. Plus, those 5 guys have played together for now. All 16 games last year. The 17th game, we know the Bills had a lot of starters. So they've got reps together. They know each other. I think last week was the troubles they had was more. It was the first game it was the first full game they played, so had little issues. And the Ravens, again, everybody's preaching how great of a defense they are, and the Ravens, possible top 5, top 3 defense if you hear what everybody's saying. So, they're going to give teams problems. So, really like to see. Now on the other side, you do have a decent Jets deal. But let's not forget they gave up 4 touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers last week. So if old man Rodgers gets 4, I hate to see what Mr. Allen's going to do to that Jets defense this week. So, and then the Jets are the Jets. I know they signed some people. They did have a bit of offense last week. I think they ran up almost 400 yards on that Steelers defense. So we could see. But until the Jets prove more, show more, see what they have, again, I'm clearly going to give the check to the Bills. So offensively, I think the Bills clearly have the better offensive team, and it starts with the quarterback. So as my prediction goes for the 2 offenses, I think this game's going to go one of 2 ways. If the Bills come out and they control the clock and they start putting touchdowns on the board and force the Jets to move into a passing offense, I think this falls right into the Bills' hands, because that way the Jets just can't come out and run that read option to death and just kill us with their running game. Now, if the Jets keep it close, which they've done in the past, and that's how they've stole those games in the past, won 2 out of the past 3 at their home field, it could lead into some problems. Get the offense can't get in rhythm. Josh Allen's on the sidelines. It's the worst place for him to be. And Breece Hall and Justin Fields just, basically do the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry combo, what they did to us last week. They just keep gashing runs. We can't get off the field. We can't get any stops. And they just slowly chew up clock, which wears out our defense. I think Josh Allen comes out this week and isn't that conservative quarterback we saw in the first half and the third quarter last week. I think we're going to come out and see him come out and start to take command of the offense right away and go, okay, we need to basically show teams we're going to pass and we're not afraid to throw the ball versus, hey, we're going to be a ground and pound offense and stuff like that. So that's how I see it going for the Bills. I think we get out, we put the pressure on Justin Fields to prove he can beat us from the pocket. The Jets ground and pound and just keep the game close. Don't keep the best place Josh Allen can be is on the sidelines for this game for the Jets and control the clock and just eat that clock up and wear our defense out, especially with Ed Oliver being out. So that's what I see offensively, the two philosophies I got going there. So Bills get up big, and then we start burning and churning that running game, which we know we have. We definitely have a good running game. So, all right, moving to the defensive side of the ball, defensive line. Sorry. To me right now, the Jets have clearly the better defensive line. If Ed Oliver was in, I'd give it a little more even Steven. Joey Bosa was decent last week. He got burned on a couple read option plays, but hey, when you're playing Lamar and Derek, they're going to make a lot of people look bad this year. So a lot of people said, hey, Joey looked bad last week. I don't think so. In fact, had we sacked Lamar on that one play where they almost had him a sack for 20 yards down the field, and him and Rousseau kind of took each other out, I think the flowers that Joey Bosa would have got for that game would have been a whole lot different than Lamar, as we know, snuck out and ran 20 yards down the field. But Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Quentin Williams, I think that Quentin Williams is by far the best defensive tackle on the field. Even if Ed Oliver was playing, Quentin Williams has just been that dominant and that good. He always gives the Bills' offensive line trouble. And Will McDonald had a couple sacks last week. I think he's coming into his own. So as a pass rusher, I give him probably the best pass rushing skills. But Rousseau, hey, we paid him that big contract. Let's see what we got. Probably a way better run defender than McDonald. But again, you pay that guy that big money not to stop the run, but to get after the quarterback. So I'll give it to the Jets. However, because of Ed Oliver being missing, if Ed Oliver was playing, I think it'd be a little bit more even Steven in that deal. I do like the depth of the Bills' defensive line more than I like the Jets' depth. I think once you get past their starters, you get into some questionable depth, which, hey, but backups are backups for a reason. So I definitely think, but I do like the fact that TJ Sanders and Deion Walker are going to get substantial playing time. Again, I think the more playing time the rookies get this year, the more valuable it will benefit us come playoff time when the games count. Again, I think Bills fans, we know we've had tons of we're almost spoiled by our regular season success. Now we're playing for January, we're playing for seeding, we're playing for the big boy games here. So we can go. Again, I think every Bills fan admits if we go 15-2 this year and we get knocked out in the divisional round or we get knocked out in the AFC Championship, the season's, even though we've had great success, the season's going to feel like we came up short again, especially if Kansas City knocked us out. But let's keep it on the Jets and Bills game. So defensive line, give it to the Jets. Linebackers, really, I call this one an even Steven because I don't really think there's the linebackers on either side haven't shown a whole lot, haven't proven a whole lot. Milano's still, he's 30 years old. Ever since he's come back from his injuries, he hasn't been that same all-pro we saw in 2022. Terrell Bernard took a step back. He's not the same guy we saw in his second season. Dorian Williams, I'd like to see him actually get on the field more, but until he does become a permanent starter, I think he's a thumper. I don't know how much pass coverage he gives us. And then on the Jets side, man, I can't remember. It's number 56. I want to say Davis. I don't think it is anymore, but number 56, he flies around, he makes plays. However, I don't even know his name, so that tells you all you need to know about how special he is. So linebacking, I'm actually going to say even Steven because I both think the linebacking core up until this point is weak on both teams, and really that I think we need to see either side step up. So give it a neutral deal there. So neither side gets a check for the linebacking crew there. So moving on to the secondary. Same thing. The best guy on the field by far is Sauce Gardner. He's an all-pro. Christian Benford is not a Sauce Gardner, but he's a solid, cornerback. He got his contract extension this year. He really needs to prove that he can cover the elite guys and number ones. So he'll have his hands full with Garrett Wilson. I'm not, the one big play I can think of is where basically Denard Hopkins caught that pass for a touchdown and he got behind Christian Benford. Now, I think that Benford was supposed to have safety help that didn't show up in Cole Bishop, and so he kind of played his role but got burned because the other guy didn't do his job. But still, if you can't catch a 33-year-old Denard Hopkins, that kind of says something about your speed there. So yeah. But overall, depth-wise, I would say I think the Bills have the better overall depth-wise secondary. But I'm going to treat this like the linebackers. I really don't think either side is heads and tails better above the other. Sauce Gardner clearly the best cornerback, but the Bills have an equal to him. So I do think Gardner's better than Benford, but overall I think it's kind of an even Steven, and I think both secondaries are questionable for both teams. So linebackers and secondary, I'm kind of evening it out, especially if the Bills can figure out their safety situation. I think that helps them out. I think they're still growing in that deal. Taylor Rapp, you need to start playing better. Again, you were solid, but the longer we have issues at safety, the more you're going to start hearing for Jordan Hancock and Cam Lewis to get in the game and start being starters versus backups right now. So kind of go from there. In the special teams, we got the old man Prater who kicked the game. He did well. Again, he's not going to be booting it for 60 yards away. So the Bills, there. And then you got Nick Folk on the other side. He's been in the game forever. Not sure how strong his leg is. I think he can easily do from 50 plus, but I wouldn't give him, 60 yarders on that aspect. And then the Bills just cut their week one starter punter and picked up another one. The Jets, I'm not sure who their punter is, but overall special teams, I'm going to say, hey, probably just slightly to the Jets because Folk is a solid kicker and their punter's been with the team for a while. So kind of go from there. So overall, I think we know the Bills are the much more talented team. It sucks we lost Ed Oliver. He's such a big part of our defensive line, which is critical there. Yeah, okay. So again, back to the flow of the game. I see it happen in one of two ways. I see the Bills come out, they put points on the board, they force the Jets to go to a pass-first offense and start playing catch-up from behind, make their defense play both run and pass, which makes the Bills' offense much more dangerous, and the Bills just start to rack up the points, and the Jets just can't keep up. That's the ideal situation for us. It allows our defense to stay fresh. It allows our defense to pin their ears back, go get the quarterback. That's more, I think, what our defensive line is suited for right now. We don't have to worry about the running game. We can just go get the quarterback, let that kind of secondary continue to grow. I do think we're going to give up a couple plays in the passing game because we're still learning what our secondary can and can't do. But that's the ideal game script for the Bills. The other way, which is the one that worries me, is the Bills come out flat, they don't get an offensive rhythm, and they let the Jets hang around and just ground and pound and ground and pound and ground and pound, and then it becomes where, hey, it gets down to the fourth quarter, and it becomes a who has the ball last, and a field goal wins it at the end, whether this is, it becomes a field goal game, last guy who gets the ball kind of deal, and our defense just can't stop them because we're worn out because we've been on the field for the whole game, which is what we don't want. I said during my pick'em game and picking this game, that we don't want the Jets. I'd imagine will have 40 carries running the ball this week because they just want to keep Josh Allen on the sideline and run the ball. And then two, it allows that defense to kind of play how they best suit. How the Jets best play defense, which is they can blitz, they can kind of do different things and get after Josh Allen and cause some confusion going there. So this is a big game for Bobby Babich. I think Brady has it. I think after he saw what the Ravens did last week, Joe Brady's going to call a much better game this week and be much more prepared. But Bobby Babich, man, we've got to see something coming out of your play calling skills because you're starting to get exposed and hey, I know we all had our issues with Leslie Frazier, but with him he was a great play caller. He knew when and what to call. He may have called the bend but don't break defense, but he knew how to call a defense with McDermott's help a little bit in there. But Babich has got to start figuring out how to adjust, how to call game plans, and really get after the deal and see what the offenses are doing and make the adjustments needed and making the right calls. So, yeah. Okay. So, cool. I think as far as predictions go, I think Josh Allen leads the game in passing yards. I'm going to say Garrett Wilson leads in receiving yards for both teams. Rushing yards, I'm going to give it to James Cook. I think he wants to come back. I think this is a game that's special for him. I think he's going to lead overall scrimmage yards. And then basically I'm looking for a couple sacks from Bosa and from Ed Rousseau to really get after it and make Justin Fields uncomfortable and really get at him and get after it. So, okay. All right. So that's how we have it there. For prediction on the game, I'm going to go I've seen a lot of high scoring predictions for this game, kind of crazy, but the Jets did put up 32 points last week on the Steelers defense, and the Bills, well, we saw what they did. They put up 41 on a great Ravens defense if you go by the metrics. So I'm going to predict this game. I'm going to go 31. I'm going to go 31-17. I think the Bills win. Sorry, no, correction. I don't think that. My bad. Scratch that 31-17 because the Jets are currently getting 6.5 in this game, which I think is rich for how closely these teams have played at the Jets. So I'm actually going to go 27-23. I think the Bills win. I think they pretty much lock it up. The Jets get some garbage time scores and kind of close that gap to where, hey, we don't win by 7. But again, I think the Bills handle this game pretty easily. Love for Ed Oliver to be playing, but unfortunately that just didn't happen. So, and hopefully he's not out for too long. So, all right, Bills Mafia, that's what I think. There's where you go. That's my predictions on the game and what I think. Injuries, who stacks up where, and what we do. So we'll do a follow-up video probably Sunday night. We'll probably do a follow-up video Sunday night after the game, give you my recap, my quick thoughts on the game, my instant reaction to the game, how things went, how things go. Hopefully it's a victory, another victory Monday for us, so we can all celebrate and wear our shirts that happy victory Monday, and kind of go from there. So, all right, Bills, let me know what you think on the video. Give me your comments below. Let me know what you think on what's going to happen. Let me know your predictions of the score, and let me know who you think the breakout players are going to be. And, and we will talk again Sunday after the game. Have a good one. Go Bills.